You are now tuned in to the motherfucking Ambition Hour podcast on Worth the Wait Radio. You ready? Yo, and welcome to the Ambition Hour podcast. It's your girl, Claudia Renee, on your airwaves, and this is episode 107. We get the sexy claps today. Because I'm solo dolo in this bitch. Hello, everybody, and welcome yet again to another beautiful episode of the Ambition Hour podcast. I am very grateful to be here in front of you guys for another week, for another edition of this beautiful podcast that we call the Ambition Hour podcast. Ding! I want to give a huge shout out to my audiovisual Have 600 in the building. Yes, sir. Oh, that reminds me. Okay, last week we dropped a project off of Worth the Wait. Now, if you follow us on all of the social platforms that we drop music, then you know that we have dropped something this past week. Hav, can you help me real quick?
CAB Team Sports
So it's CAB dropped Team Sports
and Why Bother.
and Why Bother. So these are two new songs that you can hear on all DSPs. Yes, sir. So make sure you head on over to anywhere that you can listen to music and download CAB Team Sports and what was the other one, huh?
Why
Why
bother?
bother? Why bother waste more time and not checking out the new music that we drop? This is WTW Saturdays, so this is a brand new episode of the Ambition Hour podcast, and we are ready. So, as you guys can tell, I am alone. If you are not watching us and you're listening to us in the car, I'm letting you know that I am alone this week, so you have me all to yourselves. This means I have a lot more freedom to talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. So today, what am I grateful for this past week? This past week, I am grateful for. I am grateful for, dang, I am grateful for so many things. It's so hard, but something that comes to mind automatically is patience. Now, I say this because, man, it is so frustrating sometimes, especially as a creative, when it comes to like creating content on thinking of ways to come up for like topics to talk about on the podcast without sounding like other podcasts. Also just believing in the vision that I have for my physical, mental, emotional, all of the goals that I have. We're starting to get into the third month of May. We're already, I mean, of March. We're getting into the third month of the year, which is March. And, the transition of like, okay, so it's no longer the new year. Technically, it's still the new year, but, the little new year hump that I guess some of us have been going through is officially over because now we're in the middle of February. I do know that Mercury retrograde is coming into play. I think today is Saturday. So tomorrow it should be starting if I'm not mistaken. So there are just some changes that are happening, in this year, especially in this time. So I'm very grateful for the patience that I have with myself. Because I don't think I would be as sane as I am today if it wasn't for my patience. So I would like to know what you guys are grateful for this past week. Let me know in the comment section and yeah. Okay, so this past week I decided I've been using Audi 3000 for 105 episodes because I don't think I used it with like two, oh no, 104 episodes. I've been referring to myself on this podcast as Audi 3000. Now, I played around with the thought of me using my real name. You guys have heard my real name on the podcast before because when my real ass friends come on the podcast, that's what they call me. They call me my real name. So, you guys have also heard in the intro, I say it's your girl Claudia Renee on your airwaves, and so I have made the decision to change it from Audi 3000 to Claudia Renee. And so on Instagram, I actually did a poll because I wanted to see what people thought, and I wanted to share those results because I thought they were awesome because it's like, oh, you guys like want like my real name and shit. Let me see if I can find the results. I don't think they're available anymore, but I took a screenshot of it for this exact moment. Cause if you gotta get ready, then you ain't ready. but I'm ready. So 41 people. First of all, this is the most anybody has ever voted on any of the polls that I've ever done. And it was 41 people voted for Claudia Renee and 6 people voted for Audi 3000. So I had already made the decision to use Claudia Renee because I felt like it just flowed better. We're over 100 episodes. I'm thinking of longevity here. I'm thinking about when I'm 50 years old and the brand that I'm building, and I want it to be my name. I straight up like I want it to be my name. The name that my parents gave me is the name that I want to be used as going to be like when I get invited to places, to speak on a panel or whatever you may have you. Like I want it to be Claudia Renee. And I just think branding wise is just more prettier and it's me. It's the name that, my parents gave me. So I'm really excited and thank you to everybody who voted. I appreciate it. Um I mean, Audi 3000 is still my rap name, so there's that.
Holla if y'all want a verse.
Yeah, holla if you want a verse, but don't. But it's funny because I was having a conversation that it was like, I was raised in the Diddy Puffy P Diddy era when I'm over here changing my name. I have like how many names have? Cuz okay, so people refer to me, sometimes people refer to me just as Ambition. Like I've gone places, well they'll literally just call me Ambition. Then I have people who call me Audie. Then there's people who call me Audie Ambition. Some people call the podcast Audie Ambition Podcast. It doesn't the name. It's the Ambition Hour Podcast.
Audi 3K.
Then people call me Audie 3K. Some people call me just 3K. Some people call me Audie. So yeah, so it's just like a whole bunch of different names. And then the people from Herbalife, they just know me as Claudia, but it was Ambition Fit Girl 24. That was my Instagram back when I was doing Herbalife. So yeah, so it's just been a lot of different names.
Personas.
Yeah, different personas. I am a Gemini, so it makes sense, I guess you can say. To have that many. It's not different personalities because each one is me. It's just a different. It's literally just a different name, and however anybody wants to call me. So you can call me whatever you would like. But from here on out, the intro would be Claudia Renee. I wanted to include you guys on this because I feel I was listening to the Joe Budden podcast, and they never like fully like told us straight out that Maul was joining the cast. Like I was trying to like hear like almost like a formal and like not a formal invitation, but like a hey, we're gonna be bringing somebody onto the podcast is gonna be permanently, and unless it was something that just ended up happening, which is even doper. I guess I'll eventually find out. But yeah, so I just wanted to explain it to you guys and kind of like just inform you guys and just, let you guys know you guys are part of my life. So I like to inform you guys on what's going on and the changes that are happening here. I wanted to say thank you to our special guest from last week, Ari. You were awesome. It was a pleasure having you. It was great getting some girl time on the podcast, which is always awesome. Nothing against the boys, y'all know that the boys are my faves. So yeah, so this past week, something that I decided to do was get this bundle that this therapist that I follow on Instagram has, and it's called the U Effect, and it's basically like a workshop, and it's by Dr. Kelsey Leanne, and I just saw her on Instagram one time and I forgot what she posted, and then I really liked her vibe, and so she would just always post this bundle, and like she said that the bundle was like $20, and she like said everything that you would get, like you get workshop and you get all this stuff. So I'm like $20, whatever. She's dope as hell, like on Twitter. Like it wouldn't hurt to spend this $20 to see what this is about. Like she's a therapist. Her specialty is healing, and as a person who is constantly trying to become a better version of herself, one of the things that I do acknowledge is that there are parts of myself that I do need to heal. So I got the Christmas, but it's a gift miss bundle, and it is amazing. I just started it today actually, and I was listening to it and like listening to all the steps and kind of like foreseeing what is in the future as far as this program goes, and it just got me like really excited because something that I'm good at, I can say is one of my strengths is realizing when I'm weak. Like when I feel like I'm discouraged, when I feel like getting stagnant, when I feel like there's really no changes, or even when I'm comfortable. Like those are things when I notice that I'm comfortable, when I'm stagnant, when I'm not excited, when I notice those things about me, I always like find a way to like I got to fix this. Like I have to fix this. And that means either talking to Hav about it, I'll talk to like my best friends about it. There's times where I'll talk to my mom, my dad about it, just people who I trust, or even just journal about it, because I don't want to stay in that same place. So this bundle came in at a really good time, because it's like, realizing that, there are some selfish behaviors that you may come up with. And one of the things that I didn't realize that I was doing was that I give advice and then I don't get mad. I just get upset. It's almost like I wasted my time giving you this advice and you're not even listening to me. Like, what is the point of me giving you this advice? And that's very selfish, and that's very like um I don't remember the exact terms that she was saying, but it's kind of like, it's kind of like you're being selfish. It's like it's about you, and it's like it's not about you. It's not your life. It's not your life. It's not your decisions. It's not what you want at the end of the day either. So something that I need to learn is that instead of giving the advice, is just to listen, because sometimes people need to vent. And then how some of the characteristics that we see in our parents and things like that, the ones that we're like, I'm not gonna be like that. Those are the ones that we tend to pull more from them, and we tend to turn into that, as opposed to the opposite. And the way that we treat our partners, and it's just, I always believe that everything has something to do with everything. So today I was having a conversation with Clomany. Shout out to Clomany. Guys, can we give a round of applause to my dog who's leaving who's leaving me? She's leaving the office. I'm very sad, but at the same time, I am so happy for her, because Lord knows the good Lord has a good plan for her. That just means that you guys are gonna get less Clo Money stories, at least like in depth. Because one of the things that her and I were talking about, and it was funny because I told her, I was just like, Chloe, I think my third eye is open. And it was because in this program that I'm doing with Dr. Kelsey, is basically this part of what I'm in the program. She gives you like a book that you can read, and it's the Fuck It Diet or something like that, and it has to do with like your relationship with food. So now, if you think about it, your relationship with food is very important. A lot of us have good relationships with food. A lot of us don't have good relationships with food. A lot of us don't even care enough to eat, and therefore there is no food. Which, if you put those into like people relationships, we have the same thing. We have people who are in healthy relationships with their partner, who are in unhealthy relationships with their partner, and then we have people who are just not in relationships to avoid everything, right? So one of the things that I discovered is, as far as my relationship with food goes, is that's one of the relationships that I need to focus on the most. Why? Number one, the relationship that I have with myself is very important to me. I'm my number one priority always. If it don't sit well with me, it ain't flying, and that's a fact, okay? And that took a while for me to learn for myself, because I would always put myself into situations that I wasn't supposed to be in if I would have just listened to my gut. And so now I've become my number one priority. I don't care how much I like you. If it does not sit well with me, guess what? I'm out, bitch. I'm out. I'm out. You might get an explanation, you might not. There's the part of me that I'm still working on. But if it doesn't benefit me in any type of way, in a good, positive way, and I don't mean financially or like level wise, I mean like just my energy. Like you're either gonna drink, you're either a um zapper, or you're giving me energy. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other technical word, but yeah, you're either taking away from my energy or adding to my energy. And unless you're adding positive energy, then I don't need you in my life. So there's that part, right? So I'm my number one priority. So my relationship with myself is always my number one priority. So now what comes also as well with me and falling in love with myself and being the number one priority is my health. What does that fall into? The working out, which is something that I have been taking care of. Number one. That's not number one. Number one is actually the eating part. So the eating part, the relationship with food. You guys have heard me on the podcast talk about how my relationship with food hasn't always been the best. Growing up, it was you can't eat that, you're gonna get fat, or don't eat too much, or they serve you too much and then you're supposed to eat all of it, because then how dare you not eat all of the food that they serve you on your plate. And then there comes a time where just you're just like, it's so good that you want more of it, right? So it comes down to the relationship with food. Bam. I need to make that relationship with food stronger, because just like how when you binge eat, when you eat too much, when you crave certain things and then you give into them, um you come to you start to develop unhealthy patterns when it comes to your eating, and therefore your digestive system, it gets affected, your skin gets affected, your energy gets affected. Like, oh my god, y'all don't know, the past 2 weeks I have been so tired. And the past 2 weeks, because one, because I had started working out, and I'm also getting rid of a lot of toxins in my body because I'm doing a colon cleanse. Hey, shout out to your girl. But yeah, so I just felt like weighed down. Like I would tell Hav we would be running, and then of course like time of month stuff, whatever. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here because I'm just really excited about this conversation. So you have that relationship with food. So imagine the food that you're putting in your body is internally going into you. So why, if you do not have a good relationship with food, how can you expect to have a good relationship with people? Because people, also, you can binge on people. You can have too much bad of a person if they're bad for you. If a person is toxic for you, then obviously you're getting that, and it's going into your mind, and you're believing the toxic things that they are doing are okay. So then that relationship, it starts to become like almost like a bad diet. you know your skin is bad, you're tired, you're this, and it just goes hand in hand. So my main thing is the whole like eating good, making sure that I'm drinking as much water as I can. I've been drinking water so much these past couple of weeks, and I'm just very, very grateful that I was introduced to this program. How I found her on Twitter, like I don't even know. But shout out to that. Who knew that I could do like a therapy program with a therapist without having to physically go to one? Now I have said this year I wanted to take certain steps when it came to my health, as far as my mental health and as far as my physical health. Like I said last week, I found a new home when it came to like my boot camps, well, my workouts, and then finding Dr. Kelsey, it just helped me a lot more, to, I guess, open up certain areas in my mind and a life that I was kind of avoiding, because you know who wants to who wants to always have to like really see their flaws all the time? Who want like it's like when you know that you've been eating really bad and you don't want to step on the scale, or you don't want to look at yourself in the mirror because you're just like, yo, I look like shit, and I know I look like shit because I feel like shit. It's the same thing. Like nobody wants to look at themselves in the mirror and acknowledge that, hey, I may be a little fucked up too. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not them, maybe it's me, For me, I always think it's me, because that's something that I've learned as well. I would say the past year or so, is that a lot of the times when you have judgments towards other people, it's basically just a judgment on yourself. That you you're just like, oh, well, this person is da da da, and then it's just like, yeah, no, you feel that way because that's really you. Your insecurities, you're projecting them on somebody else, so then you find that kind of ugly. And then if you ever notice when you're like saying something about somebody and you're projecting like your judgment on them, and then like you kind of like stay quiet after a while, and you're kind of like, oh shit, low key throwing shade at myself on this one. And so it's just all about awareness. Like I just want myself to become aware, and any and every time that I always have something that I can teach you guys, always know my number one priority is teaching you guys on something on this podcast, whether it be go work out, drink more water, take care of your mental health, that it's okay to change your name if you want to after 100 episodes. Like, hello. There's many things that you that you can learn on the Ambition Hour podcast. And one of the reasons why it's ambition and why ambition is tatted on me is because I'm always trying to reinvent myself. Because if I just stay the same person that I am, you guys would be completely bored. Like, how there's no way If I were to stay the same person that I was from episode one, two, three, four, shit, from last week's episode, if I was the same person from last week's episode, I watched back last week's episode and I took notes. Why? Because there were things that I needed to change of myself. You know, like plain and simple. Plain and simple. That's just how it is. There's always going to be something that you're going to want to get better. So go out there and make it better. Okay? Um, remember, you are your own worst enemy. So just make sure that you go ahead and get out of that funk and learn how to get out of it and learn how to become better so that way whatever happens, you have a grip on it. And I was talking to Ari last week about like how do you get yourselves out of like a dark spot in your life. And not that I was in a dark spot in my life, but I was just wondering like where is this year going? You know, the year starts, you have your goals, you have your you have what it is that you want to accomplish in the year, but it's like, all right, you expect it to happen like within, you know, like a week or two, and it's just like it doesn't work that way. You have to be a little bit more patient than that. That's why I'm very grateful for my patience, because this is what has been going on in my mind right now. I understand that for some of you, this may not be the easiest thing to do, but I'm letting you know it is okay. I got you. I'm not a therapist. I don't have all of the answers, but I do know that whatever it is that I learned, I'm willing to teach you guys. So this past week, we actually discovered some news about Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union's daughter. So for those of you that do not know, Zaya, which is Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union's daughter, decided to say that she wanted to be referred to as she and her, as her pronouns, and also that she wanted to change her name, that she wanted to be, I guess, acknowledged as Zaya. And pretty much, for those of you that don't know, um, he's a boy, was born a boy. And this child went to her parents and told her parents, I want to be referred to as her and she, and this is my name now. And so, of course, the internet had everything to say about this because Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union have been very vocal about the sexuality of their child, and um, you know, they're very into the LGBTQ plus community, and they're proud allies, and et cetera, et cetera. And so this isn't something new. What is new is her coming out as, you know, if in short terms, she eventually, we will most likely be seeing her transition into a woman. Okay, so for some of us, I know this is very hard to process because we're in an age right now where it's either completely normal to some people and it's completely not normal to some people. So there's always going to be controversy when it comes to that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they're right or they're wrong. I don't have kids. I don't know. I do know that the the example that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union are giving and setting is amazing. Like, I don't know how these two are like just so proud. You know, like they're so proud of, you know, their daughter, and just how open she is and how she's made up her not mind. She's only 12 years old and she knows like, no, this is what I want. And people are just like, oh, but she's only 12 years old. How does she know? And it's just like, listen, y'all was in middle school, okay? 12 years old. Think about it. I was actually talking to my sister. Shout out to Steph. I was talking to my sister and I was telling her, because we're doing like this we're doing like this music challenge, and it's basically like each day it's like a thing on the calendar. So like today, or like the other day, it was a song from your preteens. So she sends me an NSYNC song, which, you know, NSYNC was lit, you know, preteen year. I send her the first song that I send her is "What's Your Fantasy" by Ludacris. That shit came out in 1999. I was like 10, 11 years old when that song came out, but I knew all the lyrics. Like, think about it. I knew what sex was. I was very well aware what sex was at the age of 10, 11 years old. Also, you know, they're teaching you that you're going to be turning into a woman, and you already know that boys have different body parts. So I just go back and I think that I wasn't having sex or didn't have boyfriends and stuff at 12 years old, but at least I knew that I liked boys and I found them really attractive. And so that's something that a lot of us tend to forget as well, is that, yeah, she's 12 years old. But remember when you were 12 years old, and remember how you had that decision made of kind of like what you already liked, kind of. Because when you think about it, a lot of I talk about this a lot on this podcast about how your younger years are what have molded you into the adult that you are today. So, with that being said, um yeah, so this whole it's just like whole controversy, but a lot of the people who are mad at Wade don't even know what time their kids get out of school, so yeah, I need to shut the fuck up. That's just me saying that. I don't personally know anybody that's that's really mad. I see it on the internet, and then I just felt like I had to say something about that. But I want to like I just wanted to shed light on Dwayne Wade and Garba Union for being so open about it, and kind of like, because this puts things into perspective. I don't have kids, but in the future, if that were to happen, that's something that I've also said on this podcast is your kids can be born and they're gay. They can you can have kids in the future and they can be gay, they can be bisexual, they can be a lesbian, they can decide that they want to be, transsexual, or that they feel like they're like, how do you tell your kid like that feels like they're trapped in a man's body, they're a woman trapped in a man's body, that they don't feel that way. You know what I mean? So that's something that you it's just like it's I'm not comparing it to the this because it's not the same thing, but it's also like, if your child is born with autism, what are you going to do, not support your child with autism? But that's also something that when you have kids that you have to be mindful of, that can happen. Just like how they can have heart complications, just like there is just so many different things. Like I said, I'm not saying that this is a disease or that this is like something that's wrong with them. No, it's not. That's just how they were born, just like how they were just born being autistic or with heart problems or whatever. That's just how the the layout of their life is going to be. And who are we the ones to be to change that? So I didn't want to have a conversation with anybody on social media about it, because some of the people on social media are complete idiots, and the way that they think is like completely not wrong, but they're looking at it in a way that is just not, they're just trying to actually, a lot of the answers and stuff that people put out is because they're trying to get clout, if we're being honest. People are just trying to get, a whole bunch of retweets and all this stuff, and they don't know that they're hurting people. So I decided to have a conversation with the real G, aka my dad. And honestly, that's something that I'm trying to do a lot more of, is I can see something on social media, but instead of tweeting about it or talking about it or whatever the fuck, I'm talking to my dad about it, or I'm talking to my brother, I'm talking to my mom, I'm talking to my homegirls, I'm having real life conversations about these things because I feel it's way more important. So I'm like, bam, dad, how would you like, I tell him the scenario, I tell him what's going on, but let's put that aside. Oh, fuck all that. What would you feel as a dad if me or my brother came to you and told you this? He's like, I don't know. And then I'm very conspicuous, so I'm just like, well, wait, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. So so I like break it down, and I'm like telling him, and I'm like, he's just like, Claudia, honestly, I don't know, because it's so different. He's like, it's so different. Like, he's just like, I'm sure if it were you, you wouldn't care. You would probably be in shock, but because my thing too is, I want my kids to feel like comfortable enough to tell me like, hey, X, Y, and Z. I always had that there was some things, like I was telling Hav, there's some things that I didn't always have full confidence in talking to my parents about, but there were some things that I was okay with telling them. And so, because I think about it, and I'm just like, I would just want my kid to tell me, like, if it was at 12 years old, at 8 years old, because a lot of the times, like, these kids are showing these signs very early. We don't want to acknowledge that sometimes, and we think that, like, because we're on the outside looking in, we think that it's something that they picked up in high school. You know what I mean? It's like, no, no, no. They probably knew when they were like in elementary school, and they lived with that for their whole lives. So, I also watch Pose. So you guys know that I'm a very big Pose fan, supporter. And for those of you that don't know, Pose is, if I'm not mistaken, one of the first and biggest shows that has the cast and crew with the most transgender women, or yeah, both, on set and like in the show, like the cast, the crew is just, queer and beautiful. LGBTQ plus community is just a part of that show. And one of the reasons why I felt like I was so open to a 12-year-old saying like I'm a woman, or refer to me as she and her, is because of this show. When I watched it, it taught me that like, man, like, one of the characters, Blanca, talks about how, like, in like 16 years old and stuff like that, how the mom thought that there was like a girl creeping in and out of the house, like like creeping in and out of the house. And she's like, oh, I'm not mad or anything like that, because she thought that it was a girl that was going into his room. And then it's just like, no, like that was me, like I was the girl. And then getting kicked out of the house and not being supported and not being loved, and then having that pain of like, my parent doesn't love me, how else is the world going to love me? And one of the things that Gabrielle Union said, and I think Dwayne Wade said this first, because I saw the interview that he had. And it was basically like that they reached out to that cast, to the cast of Pose. And I don't think people really get how important that show is, because I was watching it earlier before we shot the episode, because I wanted to restart it, because I love what it teaches me. It teaches me so much, even though I'm watching it again, and I learned so much watching it again. And it just pains me, like, that there's people that really go through that, and people who, they just don't feel like they deserve to be here because people treat them that way. And it's like, man, we're all human. Like, we are all human. Like, you loving who you love, or you wanting to look how you want to look, shouldn't affect me in any type of way. It shouldn't, and it shouldn't affect any of us. And so, like I said, I feel like that show is just so important because of what it teaches us about a community that is basically like left in the shadows. And something that they said on the show was, because it's about the underground ballroom life that is in the LGBTQ plus community, which is basically like the voguing, the walking, they have certain competitions of like realness, and who looks more of a real woman, and just different, and then like breakdancing, and then like they have so many different categories. You have to watch the show because it's just amazing. And she says this is like the runways that we walk, because you'll never see us at the Oscars. And that made me cry, because I don't know if the rest of the cast was at the Oscars. Let me check on Instagram real quick. But I do know that Billy Porter was there. Hey, shout out to Billy.
Opened it.
Yeah, he opened it, and that was pretty cool. Hold on. Okay, she didn't go to the Oscars. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Yes. She went. Oh my god. Okay, so that was the trajectory that was happening in the 80s, cuz this show is based in the 80s. And so pretty much she said that, and then the Oscars literally just passed this past weekend. And the actress that is MJ, and there was some other actresses that were there as well, that are trans women, and they're at the Oscars. The one, like, they have a black gay man, opening the show with a black gay woman, with a black lesbian woman, and it was so beautiful. Like, the intro of the Oscars was my favorite. The rest of the stuff that I saw for the Oscars was awesome too. Have put the thumbs down.
I thought it was like she opened it so great.
Oh yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, no, no, no. I agree with that. It was like a great opening, and it was like awesome, and then it just kind of like went down.
It was stagnant.
Yeah, and then it kind of like stayed, and then They didn't really have a host or anything like that. But yeah, my thing, like just seeing that and just seeing the proudness of, you know, it was just awesome. Like Janelle Monáe and Billy Porter's performance was awesome. There were some other ones. I think Eminem came out and that was pretty cool. Y'all don't know I don't really fuck with Eminem. So I thought it was cool as fuck how they did the whole like, songs that, go with the movie, and like, and then like, so you see like the 8 Mile song come on, and then you're just like, okay, this one got a little more time than the other ones. Why is that? And then it's just like, oh, cuz he's performed. I like that. That was a really good idea. Whoever was behind that was really dope. But back to the conversation of like, them having like kind of like an underground world and not being able to come out and be their free selves. And I feel like just like how it is with like police brutality and all of these things, these are things that we were fighting for. And the leaders that we had at one point, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they were fighting for these things. And eventually both of them got assassinated, so we never really got to see what their messages um and what their purpose in life was to be, what it could have fulfilled, because we unfortunately lost them. So we don't fully know if the trajectory of, as far as like crime and stuff like that, that in the African American community, how that would be today, because it's still, I feel like it's heightened even more because of social media. You see something new almost every single day when it comes to that. And then you see the same thing with, trans women, gay, and the just it's just wrong. We're all human, guys. Like, we just need to be a little bit more aware of our surroundings and be more aware that at the end of the day, like, we're all human, and we all deserve to love who we love, live how we want, laugh however the fuck we want. Like, there's just so many things that are so beautiful in this life that to tear somebody else's because of how they waited, the way that they choose to live it is not cool. And Zaya left a really beautiful message. I don't fully remember it, but man, for a 12-year-old, I was not that articulate. I was not. I mean, I was writing and reading books and stuff like that, but I did not have that much self awareness at 12 years old. So, listen, if I had a 12-year-old who was that woke and told me that she wanted to be, referred to as a she and a her, listen, ma'am, where do you where are we starting? Like, because I feel like another thing is that as a parent you should feel confident enough to know that you raised your child to be able to be comfortable and confident and be able to tell you certain things. And then so that was another thing that my father and I were speaking on, was basically how I would just want that transparency from my child, just like how if and when, if it were to ever to happen that I would ever decide, to, that if I was a lesbian, that I could just tell my dad, and then him still love me. And that's something that him and I also have discussed, because it can only be all hypothetical, because he's like he's just like, that's the example that he uses. He's just like, well, you see, like, if you were to tell me that, like, I would be shocked, but I would still love you and I would still support you. And and he's just like, and like, he always brings it back to the whole generation thing. He's just like, if I were to tell my grandpa like that I was gay, he's just like, he would tell me that I was crazy. It's a generation thing. And it's also like where you're from, and all of those things have to do with like in your upbringing. So the way that you're treating people in your adulthood, it has something to do with your childhood. You probably saw, I don't want to blame your parents, but maybe you saw your parents making fun of gay people, or point out the trans, the trans woman or man, or make fun of the lesbian couple. That was another thing that I was talking to Chloe Money about, was that nobody bats a fucking eye when a girl posts a picture of a fine ass girl on their Instagram or on their Twitter, or says, I would go gay for her, or anything. But let a man do that and all hell breaks loose. No man can ever say that another man looks good.
I can't say I love Billy Porter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't say that you can't post him because it's just like, no, that's gay. And it's just like, no, man, like, you have to be a little bit more confident in your sexuality. But then as a community, people shouldn't be so judgmental when it comes to that. Like, why does that? Why can women do it and why can't? The, this is this is why solo episodes be intense because I just let it all out with no interruptions and no nothing, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this episode solo was because this is something that um I can't 100% put my trust into another person. Not that they need to agree with me, but I want to portray the correct message. And the correct message is we just have to accept other people's decisions. And if they decide to make it public, then yes, we're entitled to our own opinion about it, but there shouldn't be any hate towards it. And unless they ask for our help, then, we can go ahead and give our help. But as far as that, if they're not asking for help or if they're not, saying like, hey, what do you guys think? It's like, no, they're not telling you what they're not asking you guys what they think. Nobody's asking you what you think. You're just the one who decides to put it out there. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why social media is so popular, is because everybody feels like they have an opinion. That's great. I love that everybody has an opinion because I get to see how many fucking idiots are in this world. I'll be like, that's how you feel? That's very tragic. I feel sorry that you feel that way. And I hope that one day you listen to the Ambition Hour podcast and not change your mind, but enlighten yourself, you know? So yeah, so that was a really great thing that happened this week, and I definitely wanted to share it because I always feel like we can always learn from people who aren't like us, because I'm considered a normal woman. Why? Because I'm straight. I'm this. I'm whatever the fuck a normal woman is. Like,
Girly,
huh?
quote unquote girly.
Yeah, quote unquote girly, even though I get gutter if I need to, but yeah, quote unquote girly. I like men. I like a manly man, et cetera, whatever it is that you want to say, whatever it is that your definition of a woman is. So,
Also, a younger person too brings a lot of enlightenment.
what?
Like a younger person hearing it from Zaya, like it kind of brought more.
Oh yeah, and then hearing it from her is just like if you something that I do remember is if you have to look at yourself in the mirror and not like be happy with what you see, then like that's not a really good way to live. Like if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and see who you are for yourself, then it's not really a good way to live. So just when you look at yourself in the mirror, as long as you're happy, listen, who the fuck gives a fuck? One of my supervisors was saying that. She's just like, I know that when I leave the room, people talk shit about me. She's just like, but I don't care. This is how I work and this is how I am, and that's that. And listen, more props to you, girl, because that's how I'm trying to live. Like, you can talk all about you want, but I know who I am. I know the type of person that I am. I know my values. I know my core. I know who I am as a woman, as a person, all that good stuff. I spoke about the importance of pose, and once again, just check out the show because you just don't know what you will learn. And I'm sure you're going to learn things that you never knew happened in the trans community, in the gay community. It's very sad what a lot of these people are going through, and they don't deserve it. Nobody deserves to be treated like a fucking animal. Nobody at all. Nobody. It doesn't matter. Like nobody deserves that. Like how we always do for Black History Month, we always honor somebody for Black History Month, and somebody that I actually wanted to honor two people this week because February is a shorter month. I did want to honor Anita Baker because I love Anita Baker so much. Like, I promise you, like, her music came out before I was born, but I feel that shit like it came out yesterday. Like, and I listened to it like it just came out. And I was talking to Hav, and it was funny because I'm telling him, I'm like, did you know that in 1986, Anita Baker sold 8 million copies of her album Rapture? And Rapture has some of the best songs that Anita Baker has ever come out with. So, mind you, she sold 8 million copies, guys. Copies, meaning people went to the store and physically bought this album. 8 million people did this. 8 million copies. People don't even get that many streams. And that's that it's in your phone. Like that's insane. 5 million of these copies were in the United States. So 3 million of those copies were worldwide, you guys. And that's something that I don't I feel like I'm always praising Anita Baker, and I feel like she doesn't get enough credit. And like hello, she won 2 Grammys off of this project. 8 million copies. Like come on. Like that's greatness right there. And she's not always put in the same category as like some of the greater singers. And as someone who listens to her avidly, I'm gonna need y'all to put some more respect on my dog's name, because like I said, 8 million copies for the kids. you know, she wasn't sending the link to her homegirls and then telling them to download it. No, 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 no. Homies was going to the store and having to basically buy the copy, like I said. Okay. Dang it. I lost my notes, you guys. Oh, baby. It's because I damn near deleted it. Imagine that. I would have known what to talk about. But yeah, so shout out to Anita Baker. I appreciate your voice. Honestly, I listen to her when I want to soothe out, my soul. When I want to hear a lot more instruments, because she uses a lot of instruments. And man, yeah, no, she's just awesome. I wanted to also pay homage to, I have a picture of her. I posted it on my Instagram. But just a little backstory. It's for Marsha Pay It No Mind Johnson. So, she was a mother of the trans plus queer liberation movement. She dedicated her life to helping trans youth, sex workers, and poor and incarcerated queers. So her quote is, "No pride for some of us without liberation for all of us." Um, Let me look up something real quick because I find this very fascinating. Because just like how every community has their own, I guess you can say, like someone who is their leader, or who is just there to make sure that there is a way for them, and is the one who isn't afraid to take steps. And one of the things that in Pose it's going on, at least right now, and what I'm rewatching, is Blanca, which is the main character of the show. She's a trans woman, and she wants to go to a gay bar to get a drink. So now you're thinking, she's a trans woman, she can go into a gay bar and they're going to help her. But they don't, because they think that they don't consider her a woman, they consider her a drag queen. Or they say that she's in costume. So then they would kick her out. Every single time that she would go into the bar, they kicked her out, to the point that they called the police. So imagine, I'm a woman. I want to go enjoy a drink at the gay bar, and I get kicked out because it's like, no, you're not a woman. You're not woman enough, but then you're not gay. So it's like, it's very hard. So she keeps continues going to the bar, because she's just like, no, if I don't do this, this is going to continue to happen. And the rest of my peers, and the rest of the, because she has like a house. Guys, I wish I can break all of this down, but I don't have enough time to break it down. But it's basically like there's houses within like the ballroom scene. So she's a mother. So a mother, and then she has her kids that are either gay, lesbian, trans, within the house. And they basically look up to her. That's like their mother. So then her whole thing was, I'm doing this for my kids. Like, I'm paving the way for my kids. I'm standing up for my rights for my kids, so that way they don't have to go through the hard times that I'm going through right now, because I'm doing the hard work first, so that it's easier for them. So that is what the sorry. That was what Marsha P. Johnson was doing. And unfortunately, she passed away in 1992. Another thing is, she was also known. I said that she was an outspoken advocate for gay rights and a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front. She co-founded a whole bunch of different things. And let's see. And so a lot of the times, I don't know if now, but they tend to go to like sex work so that way that they can make money because a lot of the times, companies won't hire them because they are trans. So they're forced to go into sex work. And it's just, that's like, just even talking about all of this and just knowing all of this, like, can you blame me for wanting a 12-year-old's life to want to be easy? And for them to feel like proud of who they are and who they see their future, like how they see their future becoming. When I was 12 years old, I saw myself doing this. Who was going to tell me different? Obviously, like, things happened in my life that kind of like pushed it back and made it happen later, but like, who was going to tell me that this wasn't going to happen when all I did was imitate all of the people on TV? Like Free, like Lala, like Roxy, like Julissa, like just like all of these women, Angie Martinez, that I would see on TV, and it's just like, man, the world we live in. You just have to bet. You just have to gain a lot more knowledge. So yeah. So shout out to Anita Baker and Marsha. I'm sorry, Marsha. Pay it no mind Johnson. Um, one in the music industry and one who was just for liberation of yourself. And who you want to be. Um, and yeah, that those were two people that I wanted to honor. Shout out to Black History Month, man. Love, love. I have nothing but love for you guys. Like, man, as long as I can remember, like, black people have been nothing but good to me. They have been nothing but good to me. They have all of like my friends, everybody, like, oh man. And then there's so many like Haitians, Jamaicans, even like Latinos. There's some of us are black, and I have nieces and nephews that are mixed kids, and it's just beautiful, man. And just like, yeah, just like how I celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, I always celebrate Black History Month because honestly, like, Black history is part of my history as an American. It's stuff that happened in America, and we can't deny that. And I can never deny it because it's something that would always catch my attention in school. Because I always found it very fascinating how a lot of these people stood up for their rights and stood up eventually for us to be able to go to schools together with other races. You know what I mean? Because let's be real, like, we're going to school with we're going to school with different races because of what our ancestors did. The people who were here before us. I can't speak. I say ancestors before us. My ancestors didn't, because my ancestors didn't start coming to America until I would say like the 80s. So yeah, they kind of came at a different time. And
So they
time.
had nothing to do with the fucking
Yeah,
war.
no, our my ancestors had nothing to do with what the change that's going on right now, and I know that for a fact. And so,
Or what was going on too.
but yeah, or like what was going on, and I think maybe my dad might have seen some of it. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure. I would have to ask, but I know there was nobody in my family that really had to like go through anything. So that's why I say that it's part of my history because I am American. I was born in America, went to school here, and learned about Black history and learned about how, like, Hispanic Heritage Month wasn't always highlighted either. So then you think about it and you're just like, why do we only get 1 month for both? like how Whitney Houston said, and Bobby Brown. Man, that clip is awesome. I love that clip so much. They were so high. They were so high. They were so high. Oh man, and R.I.P. to Whitney Houston. Man, that's another one. I think it's 6 years since she has passed away. So that's pretty crazy that it's been 6 years since she's passed away. Man, another legend that was gone way too soon. Okay, so there is a movie coming out. Y'all don't ever hear me talk about movies on here. Ever. I don't go to the movie theater to watch movies that much. Hav is way better at me than that. Way better at that than me. But this weekend your girl is going to the movies because my dog Issa Rae is coming out with the movie with Lakeith. What's his last name, Hav? Is it Staten? I always forget his last name.
Just call him Keith.
I just know him as Lakeith Stanfield. That was close. It's called The Photograph, and I'm really excited to watch this movie because it looks so good. What were you gonna say?
Is that the photographer?
I think it's the photograph. Hold on, how? Because now you got me shooketh. Wait a
No,
minute.
it's the photograph. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the photograph, and it's a love, it's a love movie. It's a love story. I love a good love story. Love a good, little cry here or there. But something that I love the most is that it comes out on Valentine's Day. First of all, I mean it's a little late for this, but happy Valentine's Day. Super late for this, but happy Valentine's Day, you guys. Didn't get you guys anything but good vibes,
Episode.
and if nobody can love who they choose to love, no one should. Until everyone can love who they can love, there is no Valentine's Day. Nah, I'm fucking with y'all. But something that I love is that is a lead. The leads in this movie are both black. It's Black History Month, and it's opening on Valentine's Day. So, yeah. Growing up, I never saw that. I don't know, like that shit to me is just beautiful. I see how this movie,
The director is also
the director is also black.
female.
Huh,
Female.
and she's a female. Man, women are winning this year. We've been winning for the past, I always say, 3 years. I say ever since I started the podcast, we've just been winning. And
Will Packer's the producer.
Will Packer's the producer. Will Packer, okay, cool, for sure, for sure. Will Packer's really good, cause he's done like Think Like a Man. He's done What Women Want. He's done a couple of other really good movies that I know for a fact. Like he's played a really good part in when it comes to black films and hiring black actors and all that stuff. But yeah, so the photograph is looking like a really good movie. Let me bring up the photograph.
Also, the music's composed by an African American male as well. So
I
it's
heard
like the
some of
whole.
the songs,
So it's all the production, the actors.
which is most likely why Issa's behind it too, cuz she's very like that. Like she's very into like working with black directors, black actors, black writers, black, so okay, so here it says The Photograph is an upcoming American romantic drama film written and directed by Stella McGahey. It follows the estranged daughter of a famous photographer who falls in love with a journalist assigned to cover her late mother. Um yeah, so um I guess you guys can see how that this is going to end. It's actually, the music is by Robert Clasper, and Robert Clasper is an American pianist and record producer. He has been nominated for 7 Grammys and has won 3 and 1 Emmy Award. Um, and yeah, so he's behind in the music. I know anything that Issa and music have to do is just going to be awesome, because if you have never seen her show Insecure has like the best music ever. The timing of the music, what the music subject is, what the scene, and beautiful. So I'm really excited. Anything that Issa does, I'm really just like, it doesn't even matter. Like she can come out with a commercial and put it on the movie theater, and I might go check it out too, just because I appreciate the woman that she is and who she has become. As far as like, she just started making like videos and stuff, in her dorm room in college, and now, she's, you know sitting front row at New York Fashion Week and shit, and my dog's opening up a movie where she's the leading lady in a love movie. And something that I know is that she always said that she says that love and basketball has always been like a really big inspiration to her. And real quick, damn, I be knowing too much about shit sometimes, but whatever. In her show Insecure, there is a scene in her show where she meets up with like her little love interest, and the house that they use is the exact house from Love and Basketball. Will you look at that? The movie that inspired her. One of the movies that inspired her, she got to use the same house from the movie. Man, I'm so inspired. This episode has been amazing. I had been replaying it in my head over and over again. Now, it didn't come out how I pictured it. They never usually do. I feel like I was able to just open up a little bit more on a lot of different things. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, make sure that you always hit the subscribe button. WTW TV, WTW Radio, WTW Saturdays. Each and every single Saturday, we drop a new podcast. Yes, sir. CAB, Team Sports, and No Bother is out on all DSP, so make sure that you check that out as well. Shout out to our sponsor, His and Hers Hair Studio in MIA. Let me get the link real quick. That way I can get my dog, Ashley, who my tips need because your girl needs a new haircut. Go ahead and check out glamgodmiami.glossgenius.com. There you'll see all the services that are available to you. That way you can make an appointment with Ashley. Their Instagram is His and Hers Hair Studio MIA. For the 107th time in a motherfucking row. It's your girl, Claudia Renee, on your airwaves. And we are out of here. Bitch.